and now Eleanor rarely allows herself to talk. She is at the nadir of the cycle, that all humans share the nadir. Unlike its opposite has been described, we can name it speaking clumsily, the approach of the end of the world feeling. It happens in men every 14 years. It happens in women every 10 years. Who knows why this difference should be so great? On a larger scale, it happens to whole peoples. We don't know the time of that scale. When, as individuals or as a culture, we see it and know it's happening in others. Most often we ascribe the cause to a religion different from our own. So we can dismiss the anguish that comes with the feeling. We can laugh it off. When the feeling comes in our own language, our religion, that's a different fish. For instance, now here where we are, we're obsessed with the question of the approach of the end of the world feeling. The question is expressed in the language, and the language is appropriated into other modes of thinking, e.g., politics, philosophy, etc. All of the manifestations of the feeling are thought of as pure superstition. This introduction brief will help explain. Now, Eleanor, to us, she is not nuts or a scientist, but she has the approach of the end of the world feeling. Ordinarily, and we know this to be true, from the inside and from the outside, the approach of the end of the world feeling requires of the person or of the collective an intense form of introspection. The approach of the end of the world feeling does not, except in psychopathic natures, require action. In fact, inaction is one of the most obvious clues. Inaction with regard to the feeling. All other actions are irrelevant in this argument, and indeed are felt to be irrelevant. In the body that is host to, sadly, the approach of the end of the world feeling. Another feature seen in bodies host to the approach of the end of the world feeling is the tendency to change and migrate. Themes of change are not exclusive to the approach of the end of the world feeling. In fact, if we could name its opposite, the feeling of an absolute security in the workings of the world, it might be argued from historical fact, if we allow those two words to be joined, that feelings of an absolute security have been the cause of some migration. The only problem with this argument is that the truth is not confirmed in our own personal experience. In our own personal experience, the themes of migration and change are exclusive to the nadir of the great cycle, the approach of the end of the world feeling. This might explain now Eleanor to us. Now Eleanor has read a lot of books. She has extraordinary intelligence. She has imagination. She has formulated questions to guide her in thinking about the approach of the end of the world feeling. She wonders about the relationship, regretting that term and her use of it, of the feelings called messianism to the approach of the end of the world feeling. Everyone has answers to this question. That is why the question is important. As a question, it causes thought, that it causes intractable opinions, and that opinions separate individuals, and separate peoples from each other, and from the pursuit of a collective welfare is beside the point, unfortunately. The question will remain forever unanswered. Questions in their essence are unanswerable. And that is just one of hers, of course. Intelligence and imagination combined, in her with reading a lot of books, have left many questions unanswered. Now Eleanor has changed her life dramatically. For many years she worked at the bank. She began as soon as she was old enough. She gave all of herself to the job. The workings of the bank obsessed her. She recognized obsession and accepted it. Our analysis of her attitudes does not explain her to us in any way. We speak about now Eleanor as a fact. She is a human fact inseparable from the social fact of her humanness. One, she began as soon as she was old enough. Two, she gave all of herself to the job. Reserving nothing, everything in her life was accounted to her job at the bank. Gradually then, the nadir approached. She developed gradual recognition of the approach of the end of the world feeling. She was confused at first, naturally. To learn is to change as a result of first and second experiences. On the third time you are out, this is a common thread through all languages. The third time you are out, and that's it. Now Eleanor learned. Some don't, some do. Approaching the third nadir of the great cycle, she was smart enough to recognize it. Especially in its thirdness, that's important. Some see it in its second time around. They're called prodigies of intelligence. Maybe they are just differently tuned. Certainly there is less than reason in historical fact if we allow those two words to be joined to wish the gift of prodigy on anyone. Please name a happy prodigy. So at the moment, in a cosmic scale, the recognition in thirdness is ideal then. Not too soon. Cause of despair and resignation. Not too late to be a little useful. Right on time, to use a phrase that's common. Now Eleanor, almost 30 and undistracted, recognizes the return of signs of the approach of the end of the world feeling. She is drawn to inaction and indifference. She is in a deepening of introspection. She sees in introspection that the themes of migration and change will be announced in a sign. The sign will seem to manifest itself in the so-called outside world. The sign must go unquestioned. The sign is everything. The sign will inaugurate the themes of migration and change as usual. One day she is at the bank, as usual. She notices two older people in the far right line. They're familiar to her. They're familiar to everybody, but nothing is known about them in the bank. The other lines are full of well-known people. This is a typical day at the bank. Then suddenly there are two foreigners. An older man, maybe 57, near the one door that is almost directly behind the line farthest to her left. There are 5 tellers at work in 5 lines. The older man is near the door, but not in line. She senses that he is over, seeing an event about to take place. A younger man, maybe 42, is in line in front of now Eleanor, but he is obviously not in line. He is where he would be if he were in line, but he is not in line. He has 2 dogs leashed just as the law requires. Then there is a general commotion. Suddenly the bank is empty, except for 2 older people on the right. Slow to move become the witness. Except for the older man still near the door. Except for the younger man with the pair of dogs leashed just as the law requires. Except for the people who work at the bank, as if a part of the bank itself. Except for the general commotion. This part is very clear the dogs do fight. This part is very clear the dogs are active. We would call them trained. This is the best that we can know about why dogs do what they do. This part is clear the dogs have been rehearsed. The dogs on the spec know what they're doing. Thus, while the commotion is spontaneous, to use a word applied to our behavior, the origins of the commotion are artifice. How strange this is real theater. Suddenly a third person, a woman, enters with a large bucket of water. She is, paradoxically it seems, ahead of schedule and on time. The manager is running toward the dogs. The bank manager, innocent as the day is, long matters of human actions, not based on money as a religious fact. If it can't be solved with money, it can't be solved is the rule for the bank manager. The woman with the bucket of water, and the bank manager, innocent of human behavior not based on money, arrive in the area of the dogs almost together. This is the moment. The first flash of light notices. In its decay, now Eleanor sees the woman throw the contents of the bucket of water directly on the bank manager. In its decay, now Eleanor sees 3 facts. 1, the dogs stop acting. In fact, they sit down as if awaiting a reward. 2, the woman forgets her rehearsed words of apology. Now Eleanor compares the success of the dog's performance to the performance of the woman, and a new question forms itself in her mind. 3, the manager learns something about human behavior. The light decays. Its illumination of the situation is gone now, and everybody is frozen in time and space. Nobody moves except the bank manager. The bank manager is unpresentable. From a banker's point of view, he turns and runs a broken road around the barrier of the teller's wall, then left quickly, then right quickly past the file cabinets, toward the large steel door locked 7 ways, estimated to weigh about 10 tons, that protects the innermost vaulted space of the bank. The main safe, its largest, stand in even for the largest human. A main safe surrounded by 6 smaller ones. The door in banking practice long land is unlocked in 6, 7 ways, and has been since the manager's assistant did not come to work at 9 this morning. The 7th lock is a simple latch twist to the right and 360 to the left, after which the door can be pulled open by force on the wheel to pull the bolt itself, estimated to weigh about 80 pounds. After being unlatched to the right street, the question now Eleanor has decided to not think about is how the managers, assistant broke the rules to lock the safe. Another question not to think about is why the first question is of so little seeming importance to the bank manager. He keeps a change of clothes in the main safe. Now Eleanor watches the big door close. The bank manager is inside, outside. No one moves as if frozen in time. And in space, waiting for the bank manager. Finally, the bank manager emerges. Curiously, he wears the same wet clothes. He has a very strange look in his eyes. He has seen a complicated sign, so he stops seeing in order that the full energy of his mind can be concentrated to decipher the meaning of the sun. He speaks a simple sentence of great import. The money is gone. This means that except for the carefully allotted amounts assigned to each teller when she arrived at exactly 9 as usual, the bank has no money in the bag. Now Eleanor turns to look once more at the older man positioned near the door, and at the younger man as if in line, but not in line, and with 2 dogs last seen sitting down as if awaiting a reward, and at the woman who appeared as if from nowhere ahead of schedule but on time to throw the water on the innocent bank manager. Naturally, they are gone. Other versions of the experience of the flash of light are too common to speak of here. We all have them, you know. More important is that for now, Eleanor, this is the sign. The sign is manifested. In the so-called outside world, the sign must go unquestioned. The sign is everything. It inaugurates the theme of change. Now Eleanor decides to resign her job at the bank. The decision takes less time than the word immediately can describe. As usual, at the very nadir of the approach of the end of the world feeling, everything takes a new direction. Now Eleanor has a new direction. To describe the new direction simply, she has decided to find out who the younger man may be 42 and formally directly in front of her, as if in line but not in line, and with 2 dogs leashed and last seen waiting for a reward is. In some ancient stories, this feeling is called love. Now we call it curiosity. Everybody understands. Now Eleanor is curious and she is in love. She has a very little to go on. He is a foreigner. He is foreign to the bank. He is foreign to the town. He is foreign to the larger area. That now imagines herself to be in the very center. He is foreign to now Eleanor's idea of patriotism and nationality. He is not foreign to now Eleanor's idea of continentality. Now Eleanor is, as it's known, well there. Continentality is something she understands. He is of this continent. But unlike now Eleanor and where he came from, to this continent that they share. This is just a way of speaking, of course. He is not an immigrant. He is just different from now Eleanor, and from everyone she knows. Now Eleanor is curious in love. The next day, in the commotion of the aftermath of the discovery that the money is gone, and in the greater commotion of that on that day, the next day, when the sheriff and his 4 deputies, or was it 3, opened the safe in the presence of the bank manager and his assistant, just coincidentally, the son of the good sheriff and his wife. That is, the son of the woman who is the wife of the sheriff, and it was found, how carefully we must choose our words, that the money was not gone, or to be precise, was no longer gone. Now Eleanor got a telephone call from an old friend. Not really old, but someone she had shared a few precious moments of passion with, hence designated now as old, who was employed by a television station in a larger nearby town, who explained that he had been intending to call for a few weeks now, but that pressing matters of personal relationships with his wife and some of her old friends had prevented him from doing so. But the commotions, both in the very bank now Eleanor has worked in all her life since she was old enough, made personal problems be put aside at least for the moment. Could they have lunch together, preferably today, and would now Eleanor weigh the benefits of taking a job with the television station? He remembered now Eleanor as unusually comely, and yet reassuring her appearance, not exotic at all, and well-read and knowing how to pronounce most words in the television station he worked for, had decided to try out the idea of a local person to do the evening news, one whom local people saw elsewhere, say in the bank, one who had just come from work, as it were, and didn't look like hollandaise sauce made from powder from a plastic bag, as the assistant station manager put it. One who just told it to more people than she or he ordinarily told it to, and had more of it to tell. And now Eleanor's old friend thought that now Eleanor would be just the ticket for this job, naturally. And now Eleanor said yes to everything. Yes to lunch within the hour, yes to the idea of local news, yes to the job offer, and of course to the old friend. And now Eleanor has a new direction. The first meeting with the TV guys was a supreme success. Now Eleanor charmed everybody. She speaks calmly and with conviction. She pronounces most of the words right. She has the not rare but highly prized gift of thinking speech. She does not separate the two. In now Eleanor, mind and body are united. She is hired on the spot, start as soon as possible. 2 or 3 days for a new type wardrobe required by the color limitations of TV. 2 or 3 days practice with the teleprompter, which thanks to her working at the bank where lip reading, sign reading, and action are synchronized, just like taking candy from a baby. She is on the air at Red Alert and almost immediately a celebrity, celebrated for being visible, and then followed just upon almost immediately. She connects the sign to its responsibilities, and she designs a special of great interest. It is called Now Eleanor's Idea. It's simple. On the anniversary of the incident at the bank, unsolved, coinciding with the anniversary of Now Eleanor's celebrity, Now Eleanor announces to her public, which in just 1 year reaches as far as the FCC will allow to satisfy the salesman of advertising as you. Oh man, I can sell it in Des Moines like ice cubes in hell. You know how those guys talk. But they got to get the program. I mean, just pump it up a little and I can get about for every acre knows. Salesman. That she has the problem solved. She has solved what happened at the bank. Or at least the solution is in sight. Insert replays in black and white from the surveillance cameras. Stop dead pictures. Dots all blurred together, overlaid by color graphics, arrows, circles, X's. Everybody in Des Moines is watching. Kennedy replayed without the violence. Who cares about the weird wars? This is the real McCoy. Now Eleanor announces she will be away for a month or so, on location, taking testimony. She convinces me, the average watcher, that the key is in the identity of the former May 42, formally directly in front of her, as if in line, not in line, and with 2 dogs leashed just as the law required. Last seen sitting down waiting on her reward. Secretly, she's still curious and love, and that is what TV is all about. She will be away for a month or so. That's fair, just a little longer than the average person has to satisfy love and curiosity. But after all, we know celebrities have a hard life. Up at 5, coffee, the limo waiting, makeup waiting, director waiting, camera, light, and sound all waiting. Lots of pressure, so a month or 2 is only fair. She'll be back and she'll have some stuff to show us then. You can bet on that. Big news is she has found a place to start. Look closely at that frozen black and white. See what's in that circle? I don't see it. It's there, honey. They got somebody who specializes in looking at those pictures. I know we don't see it, but it's there. Obviously now Eleanor sees it. She's sure he came in by the southern route. He probably speaks a kind of Spanish. One would tell us then, long gone now. Swore she heard the dogs obeying Spanish. Wow, she said the dogs went out together, speaking Spanish, and she laughed her own joke and quit. We get cards from Europe now. She always was an opera buff. Every sentence has at least one Italian word in it. But Spanish is different. 20 words for everything, depending where you came from. The Moor and Hebrew all mixed up with peoples from Phoenicia and the Romans and the invaders and what was brought in by marriage to the northern empires and what was brought back from the New World. And dwarfs talk, especially to establish their dwarfness, all collected from all over, without regard to expense for maintenance. And the sheep herders who are understood only by the sheep, and the permanently disgruntled up north in the mountains, and permanently indifferent on the South Islands, and the permanently adamant and reconciled, and finally the official correlation of the language under the high direction of some of those who make it to high places, all laid on top of what one might describe As the native tongue Spain, the sun came with the leg of those countless rocks. End to end, side to side since maybe 20,000 years. Super graphic here. 20,000 years, now Eleanor reads. Sure that he speaks Spanish. She goes to the borders of our Spanish. It's not exactly incognito when Scott's looking for the pattern and the weave that leads her to the spider, as it were. She is curious. She is in love. She has 2 months on with a small crew and expensive. You can hear the whole town up to noon. Barely hold its breath until she gets back. For the next 2 months, there's just softball and watermelons and waiting reruns. This is an intro to what comes next. They call it Now Eleanor's idea. It will go to syndication for sure. We got a call from Goodbye America. The only glimpse of what we had to see. This is real. She had an inside. There's a 66 power looks like. It was made in heaven. He made it tell us exactly how he did it.
Hello, this is now Eleanor. I'm back. It was hard to be away from all of you, but I think that I have something wonderful to show for it. I went, you remember, to trace one of the unknown persons who was seen in the bank on that mysterious occasion when the money disappeared. I wasn't looking for a criminal. There was no crime, only the mystery. The main safe was locked immediately. The sheriff and the deputies determined that the safe was empty, and they swore as such. Then, when they returned on the next day for fingerprints, the money was all in place. Our town was graced, I think, with a kind of miracle. We have all read about them. This channel, of course, does not assume responsibility for my findings, but I have seen, and we have on tape now, evidence of human activities that defy a human explanation. I went to El Dorado, the land of miracles. I saw and heard miracles, and I have them here on tape for you.